Welcome back, Classic Conversations. Vic, Fresh, just two of us today. Just so you can get our opinions, fresh and uncut. I didn't mean to say that, but
Fresh
pun
and
intended.
uncut.
Yeah, pun intended. Accidentally, I kind of just freestyled off the top. But what we bringing to you this time is the conversation of Meek Mill and a hometown favorite in Nipsey Hussle. In relation to or including the fact that the reconciliation of Meek and Drake coming from some heated discussions, some heated records, and some accusations. As far as in addition to the prison reform of Meek Mill and his new direction in trying to mobilize individuals to act in regards of prison reform and the unfair treatment of our brothers and sisters when it comes to the justice system and the penal system. But I just, kind of just coming off of my head, all of it, I love to see all of it, actually. The unity of it all is healthy. It's definitely healthy for hip-hop. It's definitely healthy for the people that follow each artist. Like to start off with Drake and Meek, it's definitely healthy to see that they can reconcile, especially after things like those accusations, ghostwriting and not writing your own content, and some of the lines that hit home and hit close to both of them, and then loss of a battle or winning the battle, and how that might affect a person's pride. But the fact that they could put that to the side and reconcile, I think that says a lot for the maturity of hip hop as well as the maturity of these artists. I really like to see the growth, Meek's growth, like from a nappy-headed kid with the nappy braids on the street corner rapping to being somebody that's smart enough to know the difference between a situation that demands your intellect from a situation that demands your gangster shit, right?
Right.
Dude is really wise in that aspect. I feel like he represents a people that's thinking before they leap.
Right.
You know what I mean? His maturity to admit that he had a problem with the Percocets for a while and got through that. It takes a lot to even be able to look somebody in the eye, let alone look a camera in the eye, knowing that millions of people gonna see it, right. Say I had a problem, but then it reach back to the young boys and say, hey, y'all need to leave that shit alone. I know because I went through it, especially the stigma of addiction and
for sure.
Drug use, and then to the fact that dude. I've seen interviews where dude talk about what's gangsters getting a house for your moms, for taking care of your family, not the gangster shit per se. Fucking off your money and your time by indulging in the streets and then going to prison. Then he goes to prison for some dumbass shit, which is, I'm not saying on behalf of him, I'm saying the system is really fucked up that they chose that to try to, fucking entrapment. And then comes out of there with his head intact and decides he's going to champion the cause, again, having been through it. I think that shows a lot of maturity on Meek's part. So I fuck with him for that. Not really a big Drake fan, but from the perspective of Meek, Meek's standpoint, I think that's healthy for them to have been able to do that. Shows that black men can get together, unify, and go forward and something that's beneficial for both, as opposed to people using each other for whatever. And then for that brother Meek, who is wise, young and wise, to connect with Nipsey, who is young and wise in his own regard from another hood, right, means that both of them see like in each other. Iron sharpeneth iron, right? So I hope that those brothers really come together and make some real moves outside of just music. But you already know that the music is going to be good. Like, it's crazy. I'm not really a big Meek fan by himself, but I think Meek, it goes hard on other people's records. And I think that Nipsey goes harder on other people's records than he does on his own. I'm not saying I fuck with Meek, I fuck with Nipsey, but I think that both of them have their better records when they work on other people's shit or when they collab. And so I'm definitely excited about to see that.
So let's give some evidence of what you're referring to. So let's name one song that you think that Meek Mill went hard on or somebody else's, and one for Nipsey as well.
You put me on the shit. Being that that's not really I can't give you something right off the top out of the body of work.
You gotta have an example for the opinion, right?
Had we discussed this prior to, I would have brought one, but just right off the top of my head, I can't give it to you.
That's what I'm saying. I ain't talking about. I mean, you have conversations with your homies off the top of your head all the time, and you gotta have supporting evidence.
Nah, I don't, because that's just my opinion. Like if you said I'm gonna take your opinion for its worth, I mean whether you agree or not, I'm not trying to. Right. So my thing is, that's what I feel. You give me 5 minutes, I can find you something.
Yeah, you think about that. Think about that, and I'll give my spiel on it.
Go ahead, do your thing then, bro.
I think. No, I'm saying I'm gonna give you time to look up.
I'm gonna do that.
I want people to really see that. Because I don't necessarily agree, but the Drake. Let's see, each artist. Drake. I think first off, Drake provides something that a lot of artists do not have. I will say what he does provide is he's able to shift his aesthetic that he gives you, and he's allowed his fans to age with him rather than him outgrowing his fans. So the fact, like, he was on Degrassi, I don't know if you ever seen the video. I can't remember what song that was that he had with Tyra Banks in the beginning of the video. Mm-hmm. Like, Drake is probably one of the only people that can actually act in the rap game. You know what I'm saying? So when a nigga actually acts in his videos, I'm talking about out of the current climate of artists. Or the
so you think you mean to say you think he's a good actor?
Yeah, for sure he's a good actor. For sure. I think that he does very well in the roles that he's presented to in his own music videos compared to a lot of other music artists when it comes to their own music videos. As well as, like, Drake damn near has his own category of fucking music, damn near, like, that only he can produce. That you have other people that can produce small bits of what he produces, but the general masses of the music that he puts out, I think that it's keen to only Drake or Drake's sound. Nipsey, I've been listening to Nip since Bullets Ain't Got No Names Volume 1 when I was in high school. I think Hussle in the House dropped when I was probably in 10th grade. Bullets Ain't Got No Names Volume 2. My boy K-Mac and then my coach Reggie, they put me on. They were in close proximity with Nip at the time. So they put me on the Hussle in the House, and they played it the first time when we played Morningside at Culver City, and they played the Hussle in the House, and I remember all the blood stood up hot, and I'm like, damn, let me listen to this record when I get home, because these niggas was really hot about this song playing in the pregame warm-up. Meek Mill, I've been listening to Meek since Dream Chaser 1, then I went back and looked at some of his DVD shit, so like that's my background on every artist. Meek and Nip are for sure in my top of my favorite artists, besides, of course, DJ Quick, my favorite artist all time, but besides, I would say Nip, Dom, Meek Mill, and Boosie. Them probably my favorite artists of like today, artists that still putting out music. I like Boosie older shit, but that was my little disclaimer. But so Meek Mill working with Drake, I feel like that's good for money, and it's good for, like what you said, like the climate of black artists working together and black men working together and being able to get over certain humps and stuff like that, because most of the time we know, whether it be with a woman, whether it be with a friendship or relationship, or with just in general another male counterpart, our egos get involved a lot just because of pride and shit that, you know what I'm saying, we just don't want to accept. I.e., Fat Joe's on Vlad TV talking about if somebody says suck their dick, like today he'll stab them up in the hallway damn near. And that's like a prideful decision, because you about to go to jail for the rest of your life because somebody told you to suck their dick. You feel me? Like, I understand it's disrespectful, but to stab somebody, that just goes back to the pride thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, it may need to be some repercussions to be done, but at that status, I just feel like, you know, that's ego getting in the way. And the same thing with Meek Mill and Drake. If they would have never got cool again, I mean, it's basis on why they should have never been cool again, but at the same time, it's like real niggas prevail and maturity prevails. I mean, these are two artists that are barely in their 30s. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, they still are young men when it all comes down to it, with millions of dollars that have to make decisions on the fly every single day. And with the Meek Mill and Nipsey situation, they've been rumoring that it's going to be an album put out. You know what I mean? And shit, to be real with you, I think that that's like the perfect balance. For real, for real. You got like somebody that's deeply rooted in the East Coast with the dirt bike riding, the four-wheeler riding, come from the grittier part of Philly, really come from Philly battle rap, DVD rap and stuff like that. Then you got a nigga like Nip, who's from the biggest Crip gang in Los Angeles and is dead smack in the middle, aka call him the rich Crips, all that type of stuff. So he come with that stigma, and it kind of matches up with Meek Mill's stigma at the same time too. So I think that energy on records, and especially with them both talking about positivity and helping out the black community, I think that that's gonna be nothing but game delivered through the tapes. Because I feel like I will say this, I feel like when both of them get on records with other rappers who really be rapping, yes, they do be extra barring up, if that makes sense. But I just don't. I would say that, but I don't agree that they make better songs with other people's records. But yeah, did you happen to find some stuff that you felt?
I found a couple. I can't find too many of the ones on the Meek side, but I could tell you for one, T.I. featuring Nipsey, About My Issue. That's one of my favorite records that Nip has spit on. Really, I kind of, if I had to have a favorite Nip track, it's crazy, it would be Hussle in the House. I think that he was just the most raw and I don't want to say authentic, but I think that really represented Nip
And it's crazy
as a whole at that moment. But I like some of my favorite Nip records are records that he did on with Dom Kennedy.
Yeah.
I can't think of the record name. Dom Kennedy, T.I., Meek.
Talking about that, don't forget about us with Don. I'm just sitting around here.
No, there was another record. It was another record. And then there was some early records that he did with Nip, that Meek and Nip did, or Nipsey did as a feature for Meek before. It might have been on one of the Dream Chasers. It might have been on somebody else's.
Definitely wasn't on the Dream Chasers.
It was probably on somebody. It might have been DJ Drama or somebody. I gotta find the record, but there was another record. Shit. Just kind of off the top, I can't really think of them right now. But Nip, Dom Kennedy,
Nip and Drake was on the record too.
T.I.
You heard that before? You heard the record with Nip and Drake?
Yeah.
That was one of my favorites in high school.
I'm not really, like I said, I'm not really the biggest Drake fan.
I got a homie that's just like you when it comes to Drake. That's just crazy.
But the thing about it is, I'll tell you, like, the reason why with Drake is so there's two things about me. One is I'm kind of one of those niggas, like, because I'm a serious, like hip-hop head, right?
Right.
And I credit myself for kind of being like the dude who finds things before other people. Like, okay. I'll be up on records and artists that people don't know of yet. And kind of having sometimes the inside track to it. Like when Drake was with was managed by a manager by the name of T Slack, right? I knew of him back then. This is when he was still kind of in Canada for the most part. Wasn't really out here and was working with he was definitely all MySpace, but he was working with T Slack had him working with singer Trey Songz.
Oh,
right. So they was real tight. They did. It was the mixtape was called Comeback Season, right?
I remember that.
So around that era was when Concrete Journal, we interviewed him, right? So definitely had Drake, yeah, interviewed Drake at the time, Concrete Journal, and then, like I said, he was managed by T Slack. This is before Jay Prince grabbed him.
Yeah,
but. Which was a natural progression. But at that point in time, like, I would play him in the car. People didn't know nothing about him. And I'd be putting niggas up on it. Hey, you got to check this kid out. Drake, he dope. And I put niggas, hey, go get comeback season.
So you don't like him because you put niggas on, really?
Nah, but that's the thing. Like, that was the Drake that I like. That Drake. That's a different Drake. You feel me? And I fuck with him with So Far Gone. And, even into that first record. But then when the evolving of Drake, I couldn't really get with that. Got too far outside of my ear. It got out of my ear. Like that was things that I was
the subject content, the sound,
like Drake as a just everything Drake.
Right,
Like that's two different Drakes. If you go back and listen to Comeback Season and So Far Gone, and then listen to the transition, like So Far Gone, I could deal with, but it wasn't too far past Comeback Season. It wasn't too far from that sound. But as he continued to evolve, it just got too far outside of my comfort zone.
That's really, really, really like Drake is really like my era. So like,
I mean, it really doesn't have it because it's not really a thing of error. It's just that when somebody starts on a certain wavelength and then they change. Sometimes, like, you get established, fall into a liking with some people. Like,
this is what I'm saying. I bring up that he's in my era because that's what I said. Like, Drake grew with his core fan base. Like, you knew about Drake off music. Like, people in my grade was watching Degrassi. So it's like we watched Degrassi, and like me personally, I was a Degrassi fan. Like I watched Nick at Night, watched that shit. Like I was a young kid.
I never pegged that you was a Degrassi fan, but
for sure, I am. For sure. I went to Culver City High School. Went to Culver City Middle School too, starting in 7th grade. So it's like I was always amongst a diverse group of people. So it's like for me, that show was just like some regular kid shit to watch.
Jimmy, huh?
Facts. Okay. So I mean, I'm not saying like, that nigga was my favorite character, but when it comes to relating to something, when you see somebody's face that you're familiar with, it's easier for you to accept it and take it on with or grow with that person. Like
Wheelchair Jimmy, okay.
Right. So I mean, however that may be, still people my age, a lot of people my age relate to Drake a lot more than, and not to say you old either, but my nigga, you went to high school like 6 years before me. So
can't call me old no more. I got the Just for Men.
Stop. You just said that on camera. Wow. Okay. But I feel it on it, right? But yeah, so I just feel like, Drake has definitely moved with a certain age bracket, if that makes sense. Because he knows who he has that grasp on. And I mean, shit, dude, Drake is a trendsetter in himself. Like, you can't say he's not at the end of the day. I mean, he's good. I'm not saying I like everything Drake puts out because I hate that Caribbean shit. Like, that Caribbean shit is not for your boy. I don't like all the Jamaican talk. I got homies from Canada that's born and raised from Canada. They do the same. It's hella Jamaicans out there. I get it. But Drake, it's like, I don't want to hear you talk Jamaican. I don't want to hear you make... Like, the Controller shit got passed, and that was, like, the one, and then he just started making a bunch of them, and that shit was both.
I mean...
But... Yeah,
that's a longer conversation. Facts. I'm not saying that Drake is definitely good at what he does.
Right.
What he does. Do I care for everything he does? No. Do I think that everything he does is healthy for hip hop? No.
Likewise.
But he can't fault him. He has his own lane, and he's doing pretty well at in that lane. So you can't expect him to not, continue to I don't want to say exploit, but continue to,
play his lane,
work in that lane. So I'm not faulting him or saying it's just his thing, his now thing is just not my cup of tea. Now keep in mind, every once in a while he'll do a record that I fuck with tough, like if I wish I could think of the names of these records, but he has some records. Lord Willing, that's one of the records that I...
That shit's that's crazy.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like every once in a while he'll drop a record that I fuck with tough.
Right. Have you literally like gave him an actual listen?
Yeah.
In a minute?
Yeah. Okay. I listen to all his new records. I'm not like a... I'm gonna get everything and then I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna give every project its just due. You know what I mean? But I haven't heard anything that resonates with me. But it'll be a song here and there that I fuck with. You know what I mean? Like there's literally a record here and there that's, and I'm not saying they're not certain records that I could tolerate, that I think, they're cool. But there's anything that just jumps out, makes me say I'm a Drake fan again. Man. I haven't.
I got a hunger that will really watch Drake Dirty Draws. Like, anything Drake, she thinks it's just amazing. I know some niggas like that too, but it's just like, and just for a fun fact, when the Meek Mill and Drake shit happened, I definitely wasn't liking the music that Drake was putting out because I felt like he was trying to be overly aggressive in his music, and that's really not him, though. You feel me? Like, I feel like that, when it goes back to, like, who was it beneficial for, I feel like Meek Mill, it was beneficial dollar amount-wise. Drake, I think it was beneficial like spirit wise. Like I don't think all that aggressive shit, like, you know, you try to act like something you're not, that bothers your spirit on a daily basis. Like, if I'm out here and I know I'm not a nigga that I really want to be in some type of, like, highly violent altercation type lifestyle, but then I'm riding around with guns and shit, fucking with niggas that do that type of shit, and I'm putting myself in a bad position, it's not going to sit right with my spirit because genuinely I know what I want to be doing and want to be focusing on and want to be talking about. So it's kind of like, I think that worked both ways for them.
Yeah, well, that kind of go back to the conversation we had last week, where it was more about the effects of social media and how social media
For sure.
Dictates a certain response or requires a certain persona in certain situations, even to the point where, you know, hardcore gangster niggas start putting out memes on another nigga
Right.
in a beef, and it's like, well, nigga, what's up with the gangster shit? I thought you was a gangster.
Who put out the meme or who?
I'm just saying everybody, bro.
Oh, okay.
Like, everybody. You got niggas that get on the record and spaz out talking about I shoot you out, you know, whatnot, you know, and then their beef consists of memes. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And I'm not saying that makes me question their gangster, right? Not just that by itself. I won't say that there are some that make I question their gangster,
Right.
but that's not just on that. But it's definitely not gangster. You know, nigga, I'm beefing with you X, Y, and Z, and the conditions of your beef is, well, let me throw some memes out there, and that's how we get at each other. Like, that's not, and so maybe that is because the era that, you know, I represent.
Did you see any memes during that whole little beef?
No, I'm not just talking about that situation.
Oh,
I'm just
okay,
talking about the social
general
media as a whole,
Yeah.
and how its effect. Because I definitely think that Drake does that shit, that talk tough, act tough, because those moments, the social media dictates that at certain moments.
He got social media. He got a worldwide fan base that's gonna come to his aid. Then he got Jay Prince.
Yeah, but it's
and
like,
then you got
yeah, but then it like I said, yeah, it dictates at the moment, dictates that, but then it's ridiculous because it's like, nigga, you Drake.
Yeah, because
that's not your thing.
Right, and you could tell, like, let's say,
and he spends a great deal of his verse trying to convince you that, nah, don't, just because I sing for the bitches, don't think that I ain't with the shits. And it's like, bro, you spending way too much time trying to convince us that you could be with
that's
the
that
shits.
whole board with that. I'm a light skin, but I'm still a
And my
dark
thing is,
nigga.
bro, who you trying to convince, us or yourself?
You right, you for sure. I mean, that's 100%. Like, you didn't heard the stories, like Diddy slapped the nigga, all the type of stuff. Then bro started getting in the gym, got on the swole tip. You feel me? It's kind of like, you know, at the end of the day, niggas know who the real is and who the fake is. You could take the situation with like Casanova and Tekashi. Like, you could tell Casanova wanted to get out of his skin so bad because he like, nigga, I really eat niggas like you alive, like chew you up and spit you out in the real life, and you really talking to me like I'm a bitch and I would really kill you, nigga. But then it's like, I feel like I was like, damn, they're the same shit with the Meek Mill and Drake shit. Like, Meek Mill really got, like, he got like the O'Malley's and all the niggas that came up with him from the streets. And them niggas is like, well, we really want to get y'all niggas and ship y'all, but we can't do nothing to y'all without something bad happening to us. So it's really like a lose-lose, and that's where I do say that's when it becomes a negative situation, because when you play like that, you put other people in situations who really will take it there, and then when they take it there, you play the victim, just like the Tekashi shit again.
Yeah, what it kind of comes down to is when you think about two parties. If both parties was really with the shits, you feel me? Then it wouldn't be so bad. Like if that shit really went to that level, right? Because then it's just like, you know, it's an equal competition,
Right.
But if any party, or let's just say if Meek would have lended to those you know, those niggas he got on his behalf, then it really is a lose-lose, because then it's like, if they go and they do that and they're effective at it, it's definitely gonna be like, oh, how you gonna pick on poor little Drake like that? You know he ain't with that.
Right.
You know,
I mean,
he light skinned. You can't, you know what I mean? Not to say there ain't no light skinned gangsters, but that's what they gonna say. They gonna be like, you gonna pick on his little light skinned ass, and that's what it's gonna be. Like, he couldn't win that one, because then it's like, you knew that from the
fan base from the jump.
Oh, I'm just saying, even with just the popular consensus,
right?
It's like you can't win that one from the jump, because niggas know that you got people that are really with it. Like, even though Drake may have some goons, you can't you can't call them by name,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, you could say Diddy had Wolf, you could say Suge had, you know, Heron, Buntry, you know,
Yeah,
Timmy
all that
Rule,
shit.
Mob James, right? You know the killers or the shooters from other niggas, right?
Right.
In Drake's circle, who the shooters?
I mean, they say you got some street niggas.
I mean, they
in the
say it,
circle.
you know, and
Sure.
even some people may say, oh, moving silence. The fact that you don't know who his shooters is better. That's cool, but that ain't keeping the wolves off your ass. And so that's my
Right.
thing. Like, at that point in time, if Meek would have lended to those other people, it would have been looked at
But like
picking
this,
on people.
I say this. I say it was 3 major options in that whole thing that, again, people will take biased opinions over logical opinions. One, what I just mentioned, the fan base. Drake has a larger international fan base, so automatically he's gonna win the internet battle. Rather if his music was weaker, if his diss was weaker than Meek Mill's or not, he would have won the internet race regardless. That's
Right.
right. 2, which I think this is some hoe shit about what niggas are saying this. They was talking about Meek Mill being on his girl tour, and it's like, my nigga, he making more money on a split of a tour than a lot of niggas are even touching off a full tour. He's making that in like 1 night, 2 nights. You know what I'm saying? So when I mention that, because people talk about a response time, my nigga, if you're on a world tour, doing press conferences, doing meet and greets, doing merch, and touring and flying every single night. Like, even in his interview, he said he didn't really take it that serious because he didn't think it was really gonna go that crazy about it. He like, nigga, I'm on tour. I got the girl, the baddest female in the world. Why would I get out of jail? He was like, my mind. He's like, on top of the Percocets, my mind is not caring about what Drake is talking about. I'm making X amount of money guaranteed on the tour every single night. So when it came down to the, okay, like, he should have sat down and actually made a better record than he did, I'm like, shit, Drake was playing kickball games and then going back home to record a diss record, you know what I'm saying? And probably was sitting on that back-to-back the whole time, because at the end of the day, the nigga was referencing the 76ers losing to Toronto, all that type of shit. And I'm like, it's either some niggas help him write that shit, because I don't think he's that clever to really come up with no shit that fast. Like, I don't know if you heard the references, but he was talking about how the Raptors was beating Toronto. I mean, Raptors beat the 76ers back-to-back in the playoffs, all that type of shit. But, so, that was my second one. And lastly, I would just say, Meek Mill been on probation for how long? They sending a nigga to jail for popping willies. So it's like, what can a nigga like that really do to you at the end of the day? Anything the nigga Camp does is gonna come back to you in a court system, and you're going to jail.
I mean, keep in mind, like I said, it's Drake. Ain't no gangster shit going on, and ain't nobody need to be bringing no gangster shit to his door because he's Drake. He's not that guy. If you try to act like that guy, he's not that guy. But even at the end of the day, though, I mean, you still got to check yourself, because even if you're a gangster like that, you know who you can bring that to. Right. You know, ain't no real gangster out there gonna run up on no regular dude and assert himself, because you don't get points for that. You don't get gangster points. You feel me? That's not what you do. It's like, that's a bullying move. But even further than that,
is it bullying when you talk big like that, though?
I mean, if you know that the person ain't really with the shits, you can't bring them the shits and get and win. Because what you gonna do? They gonna be like, oh, you.
So Diddy was a bully for that?
Huh?
Diddy was a bully for slapping Drake?
Nah, because Diddy. That's the whole point. Diddy's not a big tough guy either. Diddy, that's just man versus man, in my opinion. Diddy ain't no big gangster like that. Paper gangster, that's business. But when Meek from the streets, right, that's a different thing. Diddy not that dude. So that's a different conversation. But my point is to say, when Meek coming at Drake, it had to be on wax, because it couldn't be no gangster shit, because that's 2 different worlds.
Right.
But even further, time limits aside, I mean, if dude had if it was a good diss, if it wasn't, you know, that's what hip hop dictates. Hip hop dictates that if you got beef and it jumps on wax, you handle it on wax, and there was never no time limits before. You feel me? But if this is what this generation dictates, that you have to come within a certain time limit, that's that social media shit and that direct to the consumer shit. But what it comes down to is simply which one was better, right? And
that's why I couldn't be no rapper, dog.
It's just like which one was better and who wrote that shit. Like I can't. That's not the side that I can say, because I can't say, I wasn't in nobody's studio to say who wrote what. You know, so if he had help or not. But the fact is, he drops his, Which one was hotter? It should just really be that simple. I mean, all of this extra shit is the effects of that social media shit. Because when such and such and such and such, let's say from my I'm not going to start bringing out names, but in my era, let's just say that, and I sound older, but keep in mind these guys are older than me even in that era. But when we talk about Jay and Nas and this person and that person, it was just strictly about what you said on wax. Who was hotter? And it didn't end in just one or two. It might have had to go 3 or 4, 5 rounds sometimes to see, like, you think about Rockefeller versus D Block
too, though.
It was rounds, bro. Like Rockefeller and D Block, they went rounds. It was Jay, it was Beans, it was, and then it was.
But because you can only get the music from one source, though.
Well, that time it was the radio.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can only get it from the who's or who's. Like, now everybody can get access to the music right when it drops.
Yeah. So I mean, if
that don't mean as much no more, because it's like because a nigga will drop a diss record and then drop his album the next week.
I mean, or some people use beef and disses as promotional,
like Game be doing for sure.
I mean, so he if he do that, he definitely got that for 50. So he definitely took that book out of his page, or that page out of his book.
See, but 50 turned his into money though.
But but like I said, he picked, if he got it from he got it
for sure.
But I'm saying regardless, you could say at least in that aspect, 50 drop a good diss if he gonna do it. Game drop a good diss if he gonna do it. So it still come down to, even though they can
300
put
bars and running, top 5.
Even if you still include the other sides of it, the social media aspects of it, it still came down to, did you even have a good diss or not?
You're right.
And so I say I try to keep it simple.
Right.
Who had the better diss?
Back to Back was a hit.
It was.
It was really like more so of a club hit rather than a diss record. But
even if you take the things that he said versus the thing that Meek said, the fact that it could be played in the club and all of that extra stuff that niggas on the radio talk about, the fact is he said his lyrics, which is what makes up the diss, was better than Meek shit. Should that have meant that Meek lost his career? I'm glad that he didn't. I'm glad that there was comeback from it and the fact that they could reconcile. But at the end of the day, Drake had the better diss.
He did.
Better record. So fuck the time limit, fuck the memes, fuck the social media shit. Let's just talk about diss record versus diss record. Drake had the better one. Fuck the gangster shit. I'm glad it was kept on wax, like some of the more classic records, like, you think about Ice Cube and, No Vaseline, right? You think about some of the other records back in the day, Cannabis and LL and things like that. Nigga, keep the shit on wax. Let's not even talk about who's tougher. Those are things that get said in the record, but ain't gotta be no gangster shit. Nobody gotta get knocked out. You know what I mean? I hate to see, like, for instance, Beanie Siegel got knocked out between the issue with, Meek and Beans, but I'm glad that they reconciled. Yeah, I'm glad that they reconciled, because Beans is nigga literally on some lyrical shit. Beans is one of my favorites. Like, he's one of my heroes as a rapper, as a man.
I seen Beanie Siegel front row at the Rockefeller and Rough Riders tour.
I mean, shit, that dude,
shit was crazy to me. First time I ever seen bro rap in my life.
But he's a beast.
A beast.
Beans is a beast.
Bro, it's a lot of people that say, nigga, Beanie Siegel damn near was a better rapper than Jay-Z.
Hey, bro, I'm going to say it like this. Sense. I'm just going to say this. If that's not the case, he definitely outshined him on many records.
For sure.
And then don't get on his freestyles. Again, back to the D-Block Rockefeller thing. Bean served all them niggas in D-Block on his own. Not to say that Jadakiss and Styles didn't come with it.
Right.
But Beans was fierce.
And then
I'm saying by himself, like, he took on... The rest of them niggas was rapping, but I'm talking about caliber shit. Right. Beans being in a group against a group that were legends at the time. D-Block were already legends. Beans definitely served. He came with it and held his own. And then, not to mention some of the videos that he's done, the freestyles that he spit. And then, unfortunately, it was the time when he went at Jay. But even the records that he used when he went at Jay, the one that 50 Cent was on, nigga was killer. And I hate to see him have brought that beast out against his brother, but it brought the beast out. So Beans by himself is loyal, is legendary. Facts. He's royalty is what I meant, and definitely Philly royalty. So I definitely hated to see the young royalty versus the old royalty not together. I hope they can really do more music together if that is ever the case. I hope that Meek can look, but I'm glad that they kind of did it.
That nigga lost his voice too, though.
It just brings in a different dynamic. I could still listen to him. I know it's not the same, but if his bars is fire.
Beanie Siegel and State Property
they making a
classics.
And I'm glad they're making a comeback run with their tour and everything. I'm just waiting for the music that come South SP.
Really?
Stay Prop. They on doing their little.
Oh, Sheena on there too?
Huh?
Oh, Sheena on there too?
Nah.
Yeah, I figured.
But it's everybody but Petey Crack, Freeway, Young Chris and Neef.
You said Freeway on there?
Freeway.
Damn.
He was on part of it. He left when he did the. He got a kidney.
Oh, you got one?
He got one.
Oh shit! Shout out to the Freeway.
Yeah, definitely prayers up for him.
Definitely. Damn, that's crazy.
He got that kidney, so he was down for a little bit. He was on the tour for most of it, and so I'm glad to see them back. But I really hope that them as a whole, as the guys who were really kind of the forefront of the Philly movement, really get to work with. I hope that the way I look at LA and hope that niggas in LA can come together and unify. Yeah. I look at Philly the same way, and especially because of Beans, because you listen back to Beans records, Beans had a lot of LA in his music. Sure. Like he was dropping Cube lines in there, like where he would borrow from niggas like Cube and NWA. So Beans,
because he was so aggressive.
But that he listened to the LA shit
for sure,
and was inspired by it. That he put it in his records. So I love to see that. Like I love to see them unify the same way LA, because I really see like synergy. Like I really see like two different neighborhoods. That even though the differences between LA and Philly, sure, I really see that they're kindred cities, and that goes kind of back to Nip and Meek. Is the same way I look at Beans and his borrowing from the West Coast is the same reason why I am excited about Meek and Nipsey working together, because I see LA and Philly really have a lot in common. Yeah,
that's gonna be crazy synergy.
Yeah, but I really hope that it bring LA and Philly together as a whole. I hope that Beans bring his ass out here and get on the podcast, right? So we in LA could tell him how much we fuck with him. LA fuck with Beanie Siegel, tough. Broad Street Bully. So, literally, I hope that there is more to come from Philly as a whole with each other, where they can unify and fuck with each other, and where LA and Philly can really kind of
get down or let down.
Get down, yep, get down. So, as it always is, it's definitely fun having these conversations with y'all and y'all. So, we definitely appreciate y'all fucking with us, tapping in, coming in, watching, leaving comments, leave the comments, hit the like button. We appreciate those that already have, those that will continue to do so, and anybody just reaching in, just kind of tapping in with it just newly. We definitely appreciate y'all too. Definitely hit subscribe. That's the third thing. Comment, like, and please hit subscribe. That way you can be with us when we drop the new shit every week. We're gonna bring you different content, what's kind of going on in the streets, what's kind of going on the music industry, as well as the intellectual shit that we speak on. We're really trying to bring you some things that make you think as a whole and not just entertain you. Definitely no gossip, never having to worry about being PC or politically correct for the non-savvy. We definitely keep it 100, say what's on our mind, say how we feel, no bias, but no filter whatsoever. But I'm fresh.
Vic.
Classic Conversations.